Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save the day.
Soon I will be invincible. Because comics. Welcome to Because Comics. This is episode 54. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, the transdimensional Mike Christensen.
I don't know why I sound like the $6 Million Man when I go through dimensions.
Go through dimensions?
But that's true, though.
Is it possible
yes.
that the $6 Million Man was the first transdimensional?
I just always answer yes, because with the magic of dimensional travel,
it's always true.
Everything's possible.
That's true. There's got to be a dimension where everybody's $6 million men and women.
Yep.
And they can also travel through different dimensions.
Anyway, let's talk about comic books.
Yeah!
Every episode we start by talking about what comics we are reading. Jay, what should we check out from the comic book shop?
You guys should definitely check out, it's a Dark Horse comic. It's called Beasts of Burden, What the Cat Dragged In. That's right, there's a colon and then a sub-thing. It is written by Evan Dorkin and Sarah Dyer, and it's drawn by Jill Thompson. So this is actually a new run on what seems to be a little bit of like an anthology or a series that's called Beasts of Burden. Oh. So this actually started, I think, back in 2003. There was a couple short like horror runs.
Wow.
And then there was a big run in 2009 called Beasts of Burden, which is really where a lot of this is pulling from, that won like Eisner Awards, and I think Harvey Awards, and like a bunch of stuff. It's really well regarded. And since 2009, this team hasn't come back to do another book for Beasts of Burden, and now they've just come back to do this. This is kind of this first issue, Beasts of Burden number 1, What the Cat Dragged In, is kind of like a one-shot. It's a one-shot story, and basically what it's about is, think of like a classic children's tale like Peter Rabbit, but if Peter Rabbit was John Constantine. What I mean by that is, this takes place in a town where there are humans about, but all the animals, like dogs and cats and raccoons, specifically in this adventure, it's about, you follow a group of cats and a raccoon that are going around the town and solving supernatural problems. That's what the Beasts of Burden series is about. And it's very cool. They kind of take that, the Redwall style of like these animals, they all talk. They all kind of have these more elaborate societies than we imagine. Like in the opening of this comic, you find a dead mouse shaman. That's a thing.
I see what you mean.
With its heart ripped out.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but nobody's like wearing like armor or anything. They're still just like a cat you would see in a normal house.
Oh,
but
okay.
when that cat is not around, it is foiling ghost plans and stuff like that, which is ostensibly great. A great premise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This story, it's a complete one-shot, and since these are characters that were in a previous run, there's obviously, I had a little bit of skepticism going into this, being like, okay, I'm not going to know what any of these things are saying to each other, or why they're saying it.
I'm just gonna be lost.
It's basically, I guess, anybody who would just randomly drop into like a Marvel MCU movie now, like if they dropped into Civil War, they'd be like, I have no idea what's going on right now. But they do an amazing job of every time these characters interact, of giving enough exposition where I'm like, okay, I know how you know each other, but it doesn't feel like overdone. It doesn't feel like, okay, you're just doing a huge catch-up issue. And they do one complete story in this. But essentially, you follow a group of cats that need a raccoon to break into a witch's house because for some reason they can't get back in this witch's house. And one of these cats that needs to get back used to live there because this cat was a witch's familiar, which is pretty cool. So you've got like these regular cats, you've got some stray cats, you've got a raccoon, because raccoons are cool.
Raccoons will make things better.
Yeah, and you've got a witch's familiar, which happens to be a cat, and she knows magic and crazy stuff, and it gets crazy when they get back to this house. So I won't give you any more details there, but it's, first off, I will say that it is beautifully drawn. It's drawn like I mentioned Peter Rabbit. It's drawn looking like it's done in like watercolor.
Wow.
And it feels like that style of when you would pick up an old book as like a kid, and it's like, let's see what it's like a 20-page little picture book, and you'd see like mice scurrying around. It's like a little short story. It feels like those older childhood stories, but again, done with very, very well written. The dialogue is very well done. The art gives a lot of personalities to these animals, and it's not cartoonish. Like I said, it's like a watercolor, but the artist manages to get like really great looks and reactions out of cats and raccoons, and it comes across really well in really deep characterization. So if you like that stuff, seeing like a smaller world, and hey, if you like cats and raccoons solving ghost problems and stuff.
That sounds inherently excellent.
Yeah, and also one story. It begins and it ends. It's a little bit longer than a normal issue, but you'll get a full meal out of this one issue, and I'm looking forward to the future ones. So that's Beasts of Burden. Definitely check it out. Mike, what's your pull?
I checked out the new Marvel Punisher series, and it's pretty cool. It's written by Becky Cloonan, art by Steve Dillon, who a lot of people will recognize his art from Punisher Max,
which
he did for a very long time. Colors by Frank Martin. And it's just the first issue, and so it's a little bit, laying the groundwork. But it does the thing that I always kind of like, which is it puts Punisher outside of our point of reference. So by that I mean he is not the narrator of the comic,
right? Because it's hard to empathize.
Well, I mean it's easy to connect with a character if we can hear his inner monologue, and if he can be talking to us and doing his war journals about the scum of the earth and this horrible thing, which is how a lot of Punisher comics for a long time were formatted, especially because narration was kind of more prevalent back then than it is to a degree now, but also because how else do you root for this guy? He murders everyone.
Yeah.
But what's interesting and what I liked that I'm sure other Punisher writers have done it, but Greg Rucka did it really well, is he took all of the narration out of Frank Castle and all of the spending time with him outside of him murdering people out of Frank Castle. So we just saw him basically when he was the shark from Jaws, just coming in and destroying people. And then we started peeling back the layers and getting to see him, little glimpses of him on his own. But it was more about the characters kind of around him. This comic is interesting because and I don't want to, I'm going to give away a little bit of what happens in the first issue because it's all groundwork, and it's all in the solicitation anyway when you check it out online. But basically there is a drug bust that goes awry because of the Punisher's involvement. There are cops in play and there are criminals in play, and they were heading towards a climax, and now the Punisher has interfered with the way that was going to go. Whoever was going to win, whoever was going to lose, whoever, knew something that the other person didn't, however that was going to go, there is a monkey wrench thrown into the gears because now there is a new player. And that's kind of what I like about the Punisher, is that he is and I'm really looking forward to, I don't know how much the series is going to address this, but it certainly stems from this problem. He's kind of a short-term thinking kind of guy.
Yeah.
He just looks at the short game, and then you have cops who are doing stakeouts for, 2 months and, wiretaps and whatever else, so they can actually get all the information they need. And it's because the Punisher is a super person kind of in his he just magically has all the information because he watches someone for a week, because that's how comics work, and it's just efficiency of storytelling.
We just assume badassery extends to every bit of his forte.
Well, and it's been backed up by comics these days. It leaves us in the issue of okay, well, he has left a mess, and now he has people gunning for him, which is not unusual, and he's also crossed the cops, which again, not unusual. You just hope not to do them both at the same time.
Yeah. You really have a really busy, tough week.
Yeah.
When you have both of them after you.
And we are introducing a new villain. I don't know if he's going to be a super villain to the Punisher, but he's definitely a new antagonist.
A new antagonist, period, to the Marvel Universe, or they borrowed from somebody else?
He's just a crime guy right now.
Oh, okay.
He's just a very sinister, creepy, over the line kind of crime guy. He's not just a guy with a gun. He's a guy with a gimmick, but not like a costume.
Oh, okay.
But he has an enigmatic boss, and we don't know who that's going to be. I don't know if that'll be a new character or an old one.
He's reporting to someone who's kind of in the shadows.
Yeah,
you don't really see.
Well, on the other side of the speakerphone right now.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see how that comes into play. I'm always interested in that. I always like the stories of the mastermind sending lieutenants after the bad guy, who I will assume will fail because this comic is called The Punisher. And then it's a matter of okay, now I have to get involved. That's always really interesting to me. I always like that format.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and The Punisher lends himself to it because he's just going to keep cutting through these dudes. If you like the Daredevil, the Daredevil Season 2 Punisher, and this character, he modeled a little bit more after John Bernthal. He's got the haircut he had in the series.
Oh, interesting.
And they've been aging him down for a few years now, so he doesn't look like a Vietnam vet anymore. Right. But because that doesn't make any sense anymore. But it's just the stripped down dude in a t-shirt, lots of guns, scary dude who just blows through. I think he's in maybe 4 pages of this comic.
Wow.
Of the first issue. And what I like is that sets us up to deal with cops and robbers. And
that's very interesting.
Them playing off the Punisher.
I like that. It's like if The Wire also had the Punisher in it.
Yeah, that's what I like about this format. I've always thought it was interesting.
Well, that sounds like an awesome pull. So, guys, those were our pulls, and that'll take us to our main segment. Mike, kick things off.
X Factor, Judgment Day. I have to give a little bit of context for what I mean when I say X Factor, because we are dealing with an X-Men comic. Specifically, we're dealing with a comic where Apocalypse shows up, an early comic where Apocalypse shows up. And we're doing this because, you know, there's a movie coming out.
X-Men Apocalypse is coming out, Mike?
You nailed it, buddy. You got there. Yeah, we're going back to okay. Apocalypse first showed up in a comic called X Factor, which there have been a few comics called X Factor over the years. This one, we're going back to 1988. This is the original series. At this point, it's being written by Louise Simonson and drawn by Walter Simonson, but there were some people on it before. This is also part of a crossover called Fall of the Mutants, where they weren't like connected by any story threads, just the thematic theme of mutants are having a bad day in the X-Men books.
Oh, okay.
So here's the gimmick of X Factor. It was the original 5 X-Men brought back together. So it was Cyclops, Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, formerly Phoenix, but we'll get to that in a second. Iceman, Beast, and Angel.
Okay.
Brought back together.
The classic team, essentially.
Yeah. Jean Grey was dead, but they retconned her back to life for the series.
Now, retcon, did they or did they just say we forgot she's still alive?
No,
none of that happened.
It was, oh no, you know when she died in the sea and then came back to life? Well, the thing that came out of the water and called itself the Phoenix wasn't the real Jean Grey. Real Jean Grey's down here underneath the surface of the water.
Sure.
We gotta just plow through it. Cyclops also left his wife to be with the team. His wife, who looked exactly like Jean Grey and was later revealed to be a clone, but isn't yet revealed to be a clone.
Oh, good.
Also, I think she and her son were killed at some point before this series.
Wait, he had a son that he also left behind?
Well, he also has a son. Cable is his son, who he says
but
in the
that's
future.
with Jean Grey.
I'm not sure it's the same son. X-Men are weird, and there's only so much research I can do before my nose starts to bleed.
So to be fair, let me clarify. Was it
you can try.
Was it when Jean Grey came back to life is when he left his wife?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So it's like, you were second fiddle to Jean Grey.
Well, he left.
I'm out of here.
He left to join the team.
Better.
But
still better?
Not better.
Not better.
So here was the gimmick of X Factor. It was the 5 mutants, and they had a business manager, Cameron Hodge, who convinced them to pretend to be humans who hunt down dangerous mutants so they could get close to the mutants and keep them safe.
Interesting.
Calling themselves, X Factor was the name of the group, but also X-Terminators is used sometimes,
So,
pun.
The paperwork, how did they plan to cover that up?
What they would do is they would go hunt down these mutants and publicly, and then, you wouldn't see that mutant again because they would be put in hiding, I guess, or trained.
Witness protection
They
program?
would be training them to help them with their powers. So this is where we first see Leech. This is where we first see Boom Boom, a few comics characters.
Boom Boom.
Yeah. At some point, they start to wonder if this approach is doing more harm than good. Also, at some point, Angel is injured in battle. His wings are injured. And to prevent infection, Hodge denies what Angel wants, has Angel's wings amputated.
Whoa.
Turns out maybe he's a mutant hater. Maybe he's 100% a mutant hater, and they shouldn't have been following his advice at all. Also, Angel's plane explodes, and people think it's a suicide, or it goes down, and they think it's suicide. Whatever. In this comic, we find out...
It's a very interesting way to do it. I want to go down in a flaming, exploding plane.
Yeah, guess what? He didn't kill himself. Hodge killed him. Or,
wow.
That's so...
So we're starting this out knowing that Hodge is a villain.
I don't know that we know that he killed Angel, but at that point, it doesn't...
but he did die in that plane.
That plane exploded and Angel's dead.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure that he died in it.
He died, he's dead.
Okay.
So, issue 24 opens... issue 24 is called Masks.
Ooh.
And it opens with the team having been teleported to a spaceship. Oh, they have another member at this point, Caliban, who was a Morlock... from the Morlocks are the mutants who hide underneath the streets of New York and the sewers.
Oh, that's right.
Caliban's power is that he can sense mutants and detect mutants.
Okay.
And when they're all teleported to the spaceship, and Caliban senses familiar presences, specifically the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse who they have fought before.
Oh.
War, pestilence, and famine. And they also sense a faint feeling of, oh yeah, that's Apocalypse, that guy we fought once, very, very briefly. And last time they fought Pestilence touched Beast and made it so that whenever he exerts himself and uses his strength, he gets dumber.
Oh
I mean, he
my
gets
God.
strong, and he's strong and like powerful, and I think he might even get stronger, but he also gets dumber, and he's aware of this. So every time he's like exerting himself to like help the team, he's aware that he's losing intelligence.
So this didn't go away when they defeated
This is in play. This is still in play at this point.
Now, when he goes back to not like lifting things and being crazy beast mode, does he return to intelligence?
No.
So he's just slowly destroying his brain cells.
It's like flowers for Algernon.
Wow.
Yeah. Apocalypse shows up and reveals, yeah, you're on my spaceship. We're invisible over the city. New York, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, they've encountered him briefly in the past, so they know that he can shapeshift and teleport. But he reveals he knows they're mutants. He knows they were trained by Professor Xavier, who is currently dead.
Good.
I don't know why. I don't know how. It doesn't matter. He'll be back. He knows that Xavier believed in a dream of coexistence, but in his words, I can't do an Apocalypse voice, so I'll just do a villain voice.
Sure.
Peace between humans and mutants does nothing to force mutants to grow, to evolve, to become the strong. Peace has no part in my plan for this world. They attack him because, of course, they do. He dodges them with stretchy arms and throws them around. It looks a lot sillier than you would think.
Stretchy arms?
Because he can shapeshift.
Oh, that's right.
So
I
he just
guess, you know what? I do never think of that when I think of shape-shifting.
No, his powers manifest in weird ways in this issue.
Okay.
He reveals, as long as mankind has existed, I have stalked among them. He has had other names, including Set, Sauru, Huitzilopochtli, oh boy, no, some Aztec, oh god, I'm butchering it, Kalima, and he says he always brings growth, judgment, and destruction. And X Factor...
Wait, 3 separate things? Growth, judgment, and destruction?
I think
or
it
growth,
says-
judgment?
No, three thoughts.
Oh, gotcha.
One thing. That's what he does.
Gotcha.
The strong survive, the weak die out, and people continue on. X Factor has accidentally been stirring up mutant hatred, which is good for him. That just furthers his goals, even though they did it accidentally. Like, good for you guys. That's what I want. I want people to be mad at each other. I want war. And he offers them to join him because he's got all this power. But they refuse. But Caliban is not as, like, emphatic. He's a little more like, well, I mean, I want vengeance on all those people who killed my friends. Because, like, people hunt mutants and it sucks. I wouldn't mind maybe taking some vengeance on people. Like, that's not the worst idea in the world. The 3 horsemen show up on these golden, maybe robotic steeds that don't look like horses. They look like weird nightmare monsters. They're going to go out and destroy Manhattan. So they fight X Factor on the ship. War is a former soldier. He was paralyzed and forgotten by his country. Now whenever he claps his hands together, there's some sort of explosion. A little vague, but it's cool. Famine is a young girl who like reaches out and emaciates people, and she mocks Iceman for telling humans to judge mutants by their deeds, but they're not judging humans by their deeds, because humans are like killing mutants all over the place. Like, wouldn't that go both ways, Iceman?
Yeah.
Being like, oh no, you should just judge us, like judge the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants, judge them differently. It's like, yeah, but like, look at all these people who suck. Look at all these humans who are terrible. It's a little hypocritical. Pestilence, who later we reveal, I think it's like slightly older woman, she mocks Beast for his diminishing intelligence because...
Which she did, to be fair.
She's a bad person. She's gloating. X Factor does manage to take them down, but Caliban, and this is really cool, early in the fight, he takes a blow from some friendly fire, some debris that gets knocked aside. He gets knocked to the ground, and then along each page of the fight, the bottom panel is slowly pulling in closer as he's slowly rising, slowly turning back to the group, slowly narrowing his eyes at what's going on, pulling in closer and closer on his eyes. It's a little creepy. It's a cool Walter Simonson trick that he's done a couple times. He's good. I don't know if
I
need to tell you guys
that he does really well at this whole comic thing.
Hey, Walter Simonson, he does good comics. Apocalypse says the humans don't want peace, clearly. Like, they have made that abundantly clear. They want destruction. They want death. He will give them death. He brings out, hey, look, his 4th horseman, who we have not seen to this point. Death. A man with metal wings.
Oh.
And everyone, by the way, all the 4 horsemen wear golden masks. And his mask is a golden skull. He takes off his mask, and it is a blue-skinned, steely-gazed Warren Worthington III, a.k.a. Angel. They thought he was dead, and he says, basically, I am. You know, Warren Worthington is no more. I am death. He throws knife-like feathers from his metal wings at his former teammates. We cut away, so I don't know if he's, like, stabbing them or pinning them to the ground, but we just cut away to them being restrained on slabs, forced to watch Apocalypse send out his horsemen to destroy Manhattan.
Oh.
They're just watching the screen, basically, and he says, This attack will prove mutants' powers to the humans. They will turn their fear of us to hatred, and mutants will be forced to fight the humans with all their numbers and armament. Now go! Provide the natural selection that propels evolution. You will make them strong, for when you are finished, only the strong will be left alive. However, Caliban is not strapped to a slab. He's been forgotten about.
Sneaky Caliban.
And he kind of sneaks up to Cyclops, and Cyclops is like, great, cool, he forgot about you. Can you go ahead and unlock me? He's like, no. And he walks up to Apocalypse and says, like, hey, if you can give me the kind of power you gave Angel, I'll be your hellhound. Like, I will commit myself to you body and soul.
Wow.
And just, like, kneels at his feet.
Dark turn for Caliban.
Yep. And we see the four horsemen fly out over, almost called it Metropolis. They fly out over New York. And the quote at the bottom of the page is, and they were given power to kill with sword and famine and with pestilence and by the wild beasts of the earth. Revelation 7:7.
Wow. So things are looking pretty good for the X-Men and humans.
Issue 25 is called Judgment Day. Pestilence is going around making people sick. Famine is shriveling civilians and making them gross. Meanwhile, Apocalypse, and we're mostly there's a little bit of recap. Oh yeah, this happened and then this happened, but we just talked about that, so I'm skipping some of this. Apocalypse talks about how he saved Angel and how he's going to save mutant kind. The humans have authored a Mutant Registration Act. They require that mutants register their powers as deadly weapons, even those whose powers are benign. What next? Will they ship us off to camps, exterminate us, or force us to join them as weapons in their wars against others of their own kind?
To be fair,
yes,
I mean...
that would all happen.
That would probably all definitely happen.
I mean, we've seen that over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
It is the dark future in every X-Men time travel story.
Oh, absolutely.
That's going to happen, kind of. Beast uses his strength, exerts himself, knowing if he does this, he will start to lose more intelligence. He exerts his strength and he frees the team. Mostly he frees Iceman, and then Iceman frees the team because Iceman's way more powerful than anyone gives him credit for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he could just make and freeze things all over the place, always.
Yep. Cyclops takes a shot at Colossus, who dodges. He has wing arms that looks kind of silly. Because at this point, like, we don't think of him as, like, the unstoppable doom guy he is now with all his huge collection of powers. Here he just flies away with his, like, at the shoulder, his arms turn into wings, which is a cool creative use of his powers. But now we think of him as, like, this guy who just stands there and doesn't move.
And just destroys stuff.
Right. And, like, walking slowly. But here he's, like, moving around. And as he dodges, he basically tricks Cyclops into smashing through part of his ship, which specifically the power area of his ship that, like, starts sucking up the power from New York, basically.
Oh.
And Cyclops is like, yeah, you tricked me. And Apocalypse is like, yeah, maybe. Ha 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 ha. Like, suck it. I'm smarter than you.
My name is Apocalypse. I'm the villain of this.
Yeah. Marvel Girl and Cyclops escape the ship to go try to stop the Horsemen while Iceman and Beast engage him on the ship.
Right.
Jean gets shriveled by famine.
Whoa.
Yeah, she'll get better in a few pages, but yeah, she'll
get better?
She grabs some hot dogs from a nearby...
I thought you were shriveled. I got better.
She grabs some hot dogs that have fallen off of a hot dog truck and starts eating them, and also I think it wears off. So it's a combination of the two. But it also, like, doesn't affect her that much because her powers are her mind, so, like, she's okay.
Wow, all right.
Famine is teleported away to the heartland of America to ruin some crops, which is apparently examined in Captain America number 339.
Wait, they actually call it back? That this is
No. I mean, that's happening in another comic, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. War blows up a statue, a war monument, pissed that the government spends money on statues rather than veterans.
I guess that's probably not a very effective mission for him. I'm gonna go around and destroy statues.
I mean, I think his whole thing was like, hey, go out there and cause destruction. He's like, I got a bone to pick with the government. And it's like, all right, dude, I meant, like, murder people, but, like, do you.
Take this, Jefferson. Take that, Washington.
Well, it's not those. It's statues of, like, soldiers, because it's a monument of a war. So.
I mean, those...
I meant a recent... It was a recent one. It's like a World War II something.
Cool.
Or Vietnam or whatever. But it's not like the memorials. Whatever. That's not important.
Yeah, wait, that is a very confusing agenda he has.
Whatever. On board the ship, Bobby and Hank fight Apocalypse, who continues to show news footage on the screens of, like, politicians campaigning, being like, yeah, look, see? Mutant registration should happen. He taunts Beast, who starts throwing more debris around, which he shouldn't be doing because A, it's making him dumber, and B, it's what Apocalypse wants.
Yeah.
As he does this, the ship starts to lurch. It turns visible. starts to lurch and starts crashing into buildings.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. Jean and Scott fight Angel, and I think this is really interesting and noteworthy and speaks to their characters. Jean calls him Warren. Cyclops calls him Death. He has fully transitioned, which I guess is fair. Like when someone has a new identity and has a new, we should start calling them whatever name they want.
Sure.
But like, you have given up the ghost on this guy. Like you have just given up the game and been like, no, he's Death now, right? He's working with the villains and he's murdering people.
Well, you know what? Cyclops has been hanging out with mutants a lot, and he's very used to new code names. So he's like, okay, so this guy's got a new code name. Okay, we're gonna call him Death.
Look, Jean, you haven't been around for a while. I mean, you're still going by Marvel Girl, but like, look, we're gonna change our code names a lot. Just get used to it.
Yeah, ones that don't really stick. I mean, sometimes Hawkeye is Ronin. Sometimes, you switch it up.
Yeah. The spaceship just goes ahead and runs into the Empire State Building and knocks the tower part off.
No.
Yeah.
That's the coolest part, objectively.
Jean catches it with her mind.
Whoa.
She's pretty powerful. And then Power Pack shows up.
Power Pack?
Power Pack are a team of superheroes in the Marvel Universe.
Team.
Yeah, Power Pack are a team of kids.
Oh, boy.
Mutants who have superpowers.
Okay.
Created by Louise Simonson, and they had another series going at the same time.
How young are these kids?
Preteen.
Okay.
Preteen.
Are they also trained X-Men soldiers?
No.
Okay.
They're just kids doing what they do.
All right.
I think. I don't know virtually anything about Power Pack. I know that one of them showed up in Avengers Academy for a while, and that is all I know about her.
Good for her.
Julie Power, and then the others I know just virtually nothing about. Oh, a couple of them were in Fantastic... no, the other one. Future Foundation.
Okay.
Anyway, they show up and they're helping, but then Angel, Death, Warren, slices through the tower, makes it much more difficult to hold in place.
Well, right.
I'm not sure why, though.
Yeah, 2 pieces...
Like, this is a gripe I've had a couple times with comics. Like, there's a moment in... And, maybe not the best show in the world, but X-Men Evolution, where Magneto turned a bunch of debris into a robot spider, basically, that attacked the X-Men. And they, took it apart by like shooting its legs and shooting its arms, and it fell apart and died. And it's like, but he's holding it together with magnet powers. Yeah. So like that
doesn't have organs.
That doesn't have to hurt it at all. Like it doesn't need the structural integrity. Like once again with your Jean Grey. But again, like I would guess it's easier to hold one thing than 2 or 100 because it's not just 2 pieces. It's all the individual debris.
To be fair, I have been, pretty backdated on my trainings for telekinesis, so I haven't really done it in a while. So.
And we see it almost like a force field. Like, because at one point, she's holding Scott aloft behind her, and, like, Warren flies in between them and severs the connection, and Scott falls. And she has to catch him again. So that's kind of how they're, like, articulating it with the art and sort of how it's extending to how it plays in anyway. Point is, the needle of the Empire State Building goes smashing into the streets.
Ooh.
Power Pack members try to pull Pestilence clear, because I guess she was in play. She was nearby, and try to pull her free of the fall.
Oh, wow.
She's busy trying to use her powers on them, and so she falls and is killed. And the members of Power Pack are pretty distraught, but Cyclops and Marvel Girl are like, look, you kids are powerful. You gotta help us protect the city. We're gonna go fight Apocalypse. He's this big mutant who's trying to kill people.
Right.
And, like, you guys can actually help, because you guys are, like... And they're willing to, and they're actually really... willing to help and do their part. And as Scott and Jean fly away on Pestilence's steed, because she's not using it anymore, Power Pack like all comment to each other like, look, those adult superheroes didn't treat us like children, they treated us like heroes. And as they're flying away, Jean's like, Scott, they're just children. And Scott's like, yeah, so were we when we started. Like, I mean
we're the X-Men. We are children soldiers.
Also, he says, with that kind of idealism, how can the world not be saved?
Okay.
It's kind of nice, but also, yeah, they're child soldiers. Why would he balk at that?
Yeah, he's
crazy.
Like, this was exactly what I did at that age.
Yeah, I mean, I was only a couple years older than them. Like, it's cool.
Hey, they're going to be our next recruits. You see how terrible this is going?
What are they going to do, not help people? Yeah. That'd be crazy. Anyway, Scott and Jean arrive at the ship, and you know who else is there? Warren Death.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry, that was a little unclear because his name is Warren.
Warren Death or War and Death?
And Death are both there.
Oh.
Death fires knife wing things at Beast, and Jean is surprised that Angel would... Look, he knows that if he does that, Beast is going to have to exert himself to jump out of the way. He knows that. Why would Warren do that to his friend? And Scott's like, look, like, you keep saying, like, oh, we don't know, like, he hasn't killed anyone, he's maybe a good person. We don't know that he hasn't killed anyone. we don't know what Warren's been up to.
Also, he's death now. Like,
I mean, that's his point. That's his point exactly. Is like, look, I know you're trying to like redeem him, but like, we don't know what he's done. Like, he is willing to make Beast dumber, and he is firing knives at him to do it. Like
he's clearly not on your side.
But Iceman is seeing this argument and thinking like, look, I have an idea. And he doesn't say this to anyone. He just thinks to himself like, okay, the question is, because Angel is shouting things like, look, you failed to look for me. You guys didn't even try to look for me. And they're like, no, we thought you were dead. Like,
so he still has his memories.
Oh, he's him.
He's just a pissed off Warren, basically?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he is Warren Worthington III, who has denounced his old name and his friends and calling himself Death.
I thought he was just like I am Death and knives.
I mean, he kind of is, but he's also him. He has his memories. He remembers them. He is them. He's his friend.
That's a little harder for him to defend.
Yeah, that's
after
Cyclops'
the fact.
point.
I mean, Cyclops is like, dude, he has all his memories and he's still choosing to throw knives and kill people.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a cool dude to hang out with anymore.
But Iceman is like, look, let's put this to the test. So he runs off, and the next time we see Iceman, he's right in front of Angel's path, and Angel just deliberately plows through him and shatters him.
Wow.
And we see everyone's stunned reaction. Cyclops is stunned. Jean is shocked. The real Iceman is hiding in the shadows, just waiting to see what Angel does and see how he responds. And Angel finally kind of realizes how far gone he is, and he turns to Apocalypse and is like, look, you have turned me into something I never wanted to be. I am now realizing how messed up this is.
Just after I cold murdered my friend.
Not after all the...
Cold murdered him,
Boo,
Mike.
Boo.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And Bobby at this point, runs up next to him and like, yeah, comes clean and says, yeah, it's like, I needed to draw out and see if there was any of you left in there. And, Apocalypse jumps on this immediately. See how they deceived you. But Angel says like, look, they abandoned me, but you engineered my destruction.
True. Very true.
Yeah. Apocalypse leaves, flying away with his wing arms.
Right.
His feet have turned into claws, and not like organic, but like mechanical claws.
Interesting.
Gripping War in one talon thing, and Caliban in the other.
Did they lose all of their cool golden horses?
Yes, I guess.
Wow.
I suppose.
Too bad. They were probably expensive.
Or they're in the hangar. I mean, this whole ship is expensive, and he is deliberately crashing it into buildings.
Like, wasn't that his plan to just drop it on the buildings?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Speaking of, that spaceship is heading awfully directly towards Liberty Island.
Is it still going?
Yes.
So it's just like slowly crashing over the entire city.
Yeah, it's heading. It's gonna make landfall, I guess, on Liberty Island, and it's flipping and tumbling through the air, and all the X Factor members are bouncing around inside. Iceman aims towards the the nose, basically what's about to hit Lady Liberty, and fills the ship with ice to try to mess with the weights to try to make it rotate even further so it won't hit the statue, which it does, and it starts to get a little front heavy, and then that part of the ship explodes for no reason. Apparently that reason is explained in Power Pack number 35. Lots of crossovers happening over here.
Do you want to know why ice explodes a ship? Read Power Pack 35.
He says, oh, something must have shorted out, and then it says like, you don't have to guess, you can find out in Power Pack, whatever. The end of the ship hits the water, but the ship starts to fall sort of Prometheus style towards the island.
Oh no.
And it lands...
Lady Liberty, step to the side.
It doesn't land on her.
Ooh.
It lands on the old X Factor headquarters.
Aw.
Fitting.
Yeah.
Very appropriate.
It's almost like a metaphor.
Yeah. X Factor celebrates, but Warren is not eager to join them. He's still, really mad at them for leaving him and not looking for him.
Are they also not eager to let him join again?
No, they're like, hey, buddy, we just saved the day. And he's like, I'm still mad at you, and I'm mad at myself, and I'm mad at Apocalypse. They hear reporters banging on the hull outside and wondering what's inside. And Bobby's like, whoa, those guys are brave. This thing could be full of alien monsters. They don't know who attacked the city.
Is that Lois Lane out there? These people are crazy.
It might as well be. X Factor gets out. They greet the reporters, and the reporters are confused. One of them knows that they're exterminators, but another person says, no, string them up, they're muties. One person says, no, they're mutant hunters. Some people think they attacked the city because they are climbing out of the spaceship, and then someone else says, no, we saw them fighting the Horsemen. And Cyclops opens up. He says who X Factor is and what they've been doing, lays it all out. You thought that we were hunting mutants down. We were actually trying to help them.
Guys, I know you thought that mutants were evil and were deceiving all of you to do dark and evil deeds, but... in reality, we, mutants, have been deceiving all of you to trick humanity.
And he explains what Apocalypse's plan was, that he wanted war to try to wean the strong out from the weak. I think he says that, but basically he gets to the gist. And then he says, X Factor's advertising implied that mutants are inherently dangerous. That is totally false. What is dangerous is a belief by anyone that his kind and his way are the only way. As long as we allow mutants like Apocalypse and equally reactionary humans to draw an imaginary line between humans and mutants, it makes their goal of conflict not only possible but inevitable. We mutants aren't alien beings or monsters. We're humans too. Humanity's children. We learned that much today. The good among us must work together, or the greedy and power-mad in their lust to possess the earth for their kind alone will make the earth a battleground, and ultimately, a graveyard. And that's how the issue ends, is the speech that people are watching on TV. And the next issue, which we're not going to cover, but we're just going to allude to, basically, it's them doing cleanup and trying to basically repair their public image a little bit, especially that, metal-winged guy.
Hey, they cut off the top of the Empire State's building.
And doing a lot of search and rescue, and we start to see how much of a toll it's taken on Hank at this point, which is significant. But X Factor is rewarded at the end of the day with a parade.
Wow.
Which, never happened. And they get new costumes. They're not wearing their old, murdering people costumes.
That's probably a good call.
Pretty similar, but not exactly the same. Warren takes a little break from the team. He's not really on board with them. And then we see, Apocalypse is still out there, and he's still got 3 horsemen because Caliban's on his side, and Famine's still running around. I guess she stopped destroying things in the Heartland. He went and got her.
Good for her, I guess.
And Jean Grey and Cyclops shared a little kiss.
Aww.
But the important thing to me is that they got a parade.
That is
the
nice.
X-Men never get a parade.
They never get anything close to a parade.
They never get an inch from humanity. And I like that this comic lets them have that.
Yeah.
It actually gives them a chance to have a victory over this seemingly unending bleakness that is prejudice, and that is the racism of a type.
That's true. That's nice that they actually got a huge win.
Yeah.
I mean, the only people that I can really think of as a group that get parades are people that come home from basically wars.
Yeah.
Hey, you fought World War II, here's a parade.
Or presidents.
Or presidents, I guess.
Or Disney princesses.
True. Disney princesses get a lot of parades.
Yeah, I mean, they're all up, the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers are in those parades and stuff,
Well, I mean, they are American heroes.
That's true.
So,
that's it. That's our little Fall of the Mutants, a little prelude.
Now, do we think that they're also going to get a parade in X-Men Apocalypse?
That's the thing, is I really don't think they're going to.
Here's the thing.
I would love it.
I heard Quicksilver's parade scene is probably the best part of X-Men Apocalypse.
I would love it if this comic ended with A, Cyclops giving an important speech, an impassioned speech, but B, any character giving an impassioned speech and having people listen.
That would be nice.
That would be fantastic.
Probably Professor X. Cyclops looks like he's a little bit too spry.
He still could, or Mystique could give that speech.
That's true.
She's been the one kind of on that arc for a while.
She's kind of been carrying that, struggling with different points, am I good, am I bad? And this would be a good way for her to land on something solid.
Yeah. I also just hope the movie's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
That's all I need.
So, wow. So, guys, that was a great main segment. I hope you enjoy the new X-Men movie. And now that'll be taking us into our game, Would You Rather? All right, this is our game, Would You Rather? This is where we take the game of Would You Rather and inject comics into it.
Yep. Pretty much had that from the title, probably.
Yeah, probably. So, guys, Mike, and you people out there listening, why not? Get involved.
Sure.
Just start talking, wherever you are. Doesn't matter. Mike and people listening, would you rather spend the day as Spider-Man in Queens or Black Panther in Wakanda? And I'm taking this
Black Panther in Wakanda
from the characters from the recent MCU movie that we both enjoyed.
Yes, we did.
Captain America Civil War. Both of these characters were huge standouts in the film.
They really were.
And were both incredibly enjoyable. And for that universe, and you can, comics, why not?
We'll extrapolate. I mean, they are very similar.
Yeah, they are very similar. Who would you rather be, Mike?
Black Panther in Wakanda?
Black Panther in Wakanda or Peter Parker in Queens?
No, I'm giving you my answer.
Oh, you're going to be Black Panther in Wakanda.
I have it.
Now, why?
Because he's not Peter Parker in Queens. Because
Peter Parker in Queens is great.
Peter Parker in Queens can barely fit in his bedroom.
That's true.
Or his apartment.
Now.
He has zero money.
Now, this is spend a day as one of them.
Yeah.
So I think there's pros and cons to both.
Look,
Depends on what kind of day you're into. Because here, listen. If you drop in as Black Panther in Wakanda, you might be in a very heavy, political council meeting day.
Yeah.
Where, would you want your day that you're there, you're like, man, I want to do some cool Black Panthering and, work with some technology or maybe punch Claw or something.
Sure.
But, you're stuck in, hey, the taxes of Wakanda. We really got to figure this out.
That's fine. I get to go to Africa.
You know what, Mike? This is just such a difficult question.
I get to walk around the streets of Wakanda, which, like, no one's ever been to that city?
Yeah, I mean, not really.
Country, I should say country.
I mean, it's very difficult, I'm pretty sure, to get a green card or even a visa to get into Wakanda.
They are notoriously isolationist in the comics.
I mean, the customs alone have got to be pretty difficult.
Seems to be that way in the movies as well, that they are pretty isolated and pretty closed off.
Now, I knew Black Panther was going to be a little bit favored in this argument, so I'm trying to see how else Peter Parker and Queens could be great.
Being Peter Parker would be fun.
Here's the thing, because Peter Parker you are Spider-Man. And here's the thing, if you have a day to just be adventurous and have fun and hope that you don't run into any of the 50,000 villains that Spider-Man has in New York.
Yeah.
And at this point in MCU, he doesn't yet. He's only been Peter Parkering, Spider-Manning Peter Parkering for years.
Yeah, I would hope.
Since birth. He's a clone.
You're right. We're early in
We're early in his
Spider-Man's career, so he doesn't have a whole.
He doesn't have a slew of villains that are like just
gallery.
foiling his plans at all days, every day. And it just seems like he's kind of. These are the first days of like you're just exploring your powers. You're swinging from buildings, the tallest buildings, for the first time ever. Maybe you're foiling some robbers here and there and webbing them up and doing some fun quips. And you're having a fun day. There's no real pressure on you.
Jay,
you're not a king of a country.
I loved Spider-Man in the movie.
I know.
I would rather be Black Panther.
Look.
I would rather
there's a
go
lot
and
of really
visit.
good argument for Black Panther.
Jay,
Wakanda.
what would you decide?
See, okay, so
Because I had my answer by the time you finished the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to not want to be Black Panther. He is the head of a country.
Yep.
A really awesome country.
True.
Like, technologically advanced.
Yep.
I mean, dope environments.
Yeah.
I could just, like, literally fall out my window and land in probably the most beautiful scenery you'll ever be in. And, I mean, sure, Queens has got probably some nice Starbucks, a pretty decent public transportation system. I know a lot about Queens, guys.
We can tell.
Just as much as I know about Wakanda.
We all know that now.
I mean, the only downside of Wakanda is
you may not speak the language, but if I'm spending the day as him, I know the language.
I mean, maybe.
It's a quantum.
Maybe it's a weird bottoms.
Here's what I'm
a weird
picturing.
body swap kind of thing.
Here's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing Quantum Leap scenario where
Okay.
I am that person for a day.
Interesting. You can hang out with Marissa Tomei as Peter Parker.
That sounds great if I'm not her nephew.
Yeah, it's true. Doesn't really work in that respect. I mean, she might have really good conversation. If I wanted to just have, I'm trying to pull it back in the other direction just to give a little bit of weight there. Just because I do think if there's one hero to think of, like people are always like, oh, Superman, because you have all the powers and you can fly. I think there's a lot of like fun, excitement, like childlike freedom and wonder with Spider-Man. Because there is that, swinging through the streets, there's just something exciting about that. And he's such a quippy, fun character that there's something exciting about that. On the other end, with Black Panther, he's badass. His suit is dope. He lives in an awesome country that he is part of the, ruling family of. And, I mean, look, they're not all winners, Mike.
Look, they're both forms of wish fulfillment, but I've seen 5 Spider-Man movies.
Right.
And I have never been Black Panther.
Yeah,
I'd like to give that one a try.
That's true. The only downside I do see is you probably won't suit up. But
I still could, though.
I mean, you could, I guess. I guess you could attend all your meetings in Black Panther
Who's
attire.
going to stop me?
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't say anything.
Also, I can go out and enjoy the nightlife as Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
That is not...
Probably go to... Yeah, Peter
That
Parker's
is not the worst.
Yeah, Peter Parker's probably not getting in any cool clubs or restaurants.
Cannot go to a club. He cannot drink.
Yeah, that's true. He loses out on a lot of perks when you roll around at nighttime. I mean, I guess he loses out on all the perks during all the time, but
because he's in school all day.
Yeah, he's in school all day.
So you're asking me if I want to go back to school.
Homework. Well, when Peter Parker gets back into his body after this quantum leap, he's going to be behind on a lot of school projects.
Yeah, all that stuff I was bad at.
Yeah. So, guys, it looks like at the end here for Would You Rather, Mike is very firmly on Black Panther, and I probably have to agree with him because he's the best, and he's great in the movie.
Thank you, I am the best.
Oh, I was going to say Black Panther, and also Chadwick Boseman.
But I'm him for a day, so it's me.
Okay, sure. You can take it that way if you so choose. Guys, let us know what your choice was, or how horribly wrong I was to put these two up against each other, because I guess it was obvious. But... anyways, that was episode 54 of Because Comics. Guys, we'll be posting a new episode every other week. And if you'd like to download more episodes, check out other similar podcasts. You can head over to partialarc.com. That's ARC with a C, there's some crazy other podcasts out there, Mike.
Now, what sort of other podcasts do we have on partialarc.com?
Well, there's one called Friday Night Quest where we play D&D,
Hey.
and you are a magical wizard.
Now, how many episodes of that show would you say we've done?
Mike, I would say that at this time, there's about 50 episodes up there.
50 whole episodes?
50 whole episodes.
Well, how much money would I have to pay to listen to all of those
Mike,
episodes?
you don't have to pay any money to listen to those episodes.
What?
And
what sort of scam are you running?
I mean, can you believe it? 50? That's insane.
No, I can't, and I was there for all of them.
Yes. Also, there are podcasts about movies.
What? I like movies.
There are podcasts about a very specific miniature war game called Warhammer 40K.
Hey, people enjoy that.
Yeah, and it's a universe that is insane. So if you
It
enjoy
is.
any of those things, they're up there on partialarc.com.
Cool.
Also, guys, let us know if you have any questions or tell us how wrong we were about how great, our pick was for obviously Black Panther.
Or tell me how right I was.
Indeed.
I'll accept that
That's
as well.
probably what they really want to do. And send those questions or comments to becausecomics@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr, all at Partial Arc. And be sure to check out more content from our comic boy wonder, Mike Christensen.
Excuse me, it's T'Challa.
Oh, that's right. He's,
I've decided that today is the day.
Yeah, check out more content from our ruler of Wakanda, T'Challa, at partialarc.com, where T'Challa writes articles every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks for listening.
T'Challa's super into Star Wars.
He's super into Star Wars
and role-playing
these days, and
games.
role-playing.
Oh, that makes him a little... What else is he doing with his time in Wakanda?
That would be awesome if those are all those things under his bio.
Oh, man.
Thanks for listening, guys, and remember...
Don't get in a plane with Captain America. He almost never lands them safely. In First Avenger, he jumps out of one plane, he crashes another into the Arctic.
Do you think he doesn't know how to land planes?
In Avengers, he rides in 3 Quinjets, or a Quinjet 3 times. One of them he lands on safely, one of them he jumps out of, the other one crashes. In Winter Soldier, he jumps out of a plane without a parachute, and then at the end, the helicarrier he's on crashes into the water.
I think it's Captain America just doesn't fear gravity.
In Age of Ultron, he's on a city that also falls out of the sky.
Wow.
He was on a city that was normal solid ground, and then it got up and went down again.
Captain America's most consistent villain is gravity.
Yeah.
Because comics.